Hello, I just realised I forgot to let you know I was coming on today for my Facebook Live, but today I'm talking about heat embossing. I'm sharing a card we did at our class last week when we did the technique of texture. I'm trying to find the page where the texture page is. And it was about heat embossing. Okay, so here in the catalogue, on page 126, there's this a great chapter, page, spread about texture with this card in it with this really interesting tile. And I'm going to show you how you can create that same effect for yourself on your projects. So this was the card we did at our class last week, but today I thought I'd try the same technique using silver embossing powder instead of gold, just for something a bit different. I'm still with the same blue though, but I just thought silver might be fun because silver goes quite nicely with gold. I really like it for Christmas. But so I'm just styling up. Here we go. So this is my project that we're going to do, and I've used, here's my supplies here. Just pop that out of there. I'm just going to adjust my camera a bit because I'm up a bit high. You don't want to see all of my desk. You want to see what we're creating. Okay, so basic white, thick white card base. So I can set that aside. And my designer series paper is actually the Countryside Corners. It goes with the Countryside dies, but it's actually just the Countryside designer series paper. That's just because it's a lovely generic paper with nice design, nice patterns on it that you can use for all sorts of things. And then I've got Night of Navy and white for inside. I've already cut out my tag. This is one of the tags from the Something Fancy dies. Okay, this is the same one they used in the catalogue. And this is what I'm going to use for your project today. I'll just move that away because we're not using gold today, we'll use silver. And that's my piece for cutting out these two little guys here. So we might just do that first, do the simple stamping first, and then we'll get into so I've got 2 leaves there, and also some for inside the card because it's always nice to have something special on the inside of your card as well. There we go. So that's all that stamping complete, I believe. And those guys just get coloured with, I've got some, you could use anything really, but I've just got some balmy blue stamping blends. I'm just colouring in the flowers with the dark balmy blue. Not artistic at all, just a little bit of interest for inside and the front of my card. And I will then use also the light balmy blue for the leaves, just give them a bit of colour. I really like this stamp set. I forgot to introduce to you is the Thoughtful Expressions stamp set. It's a carryover from last year, but it has really lovely artistic images that enable you to colour artistically, and that's probably a euphemism for you can be a little bit messy and it doesn't matter because the line work on the images allow you to do that, or they let you get away with it is probably what's more correct. Okay, we'll just pop this onto my mat for inside. Usually for the measurements for inside my cards, I can be quite mathematical with my card making, but my white is often 7 centimetres by 10 centimetres because our cardstock is 21 centimetres wide. So if I cut it at 10, I get three even pieces across the side, and I can get 6, and sometimes I can get 9 on a piece of paper out of a piece of cardstock. Okay, I'll just pop this inside my card. And while I'm sticking, I'll also put my designer series paper Now that's rather lovely, that designer series paper pattern, but because of the detail we're putting on the front of the card, I'm going with the very plain side so that it doesn't take anything away from the tag. Okay, so there's the tag. I have to fussy cut them, so seeing I've already done that, I can stick them on later there. Okay, so this is the last two pieces. We're doing heat embossing. So for this label, we're just going to do basic heat embossing to start off with. And I'll just show you that. I'm using my embossing buddy, which comes with the Embossing Editions kit, just to swipe across there so that it removes any of the moisture from my skin to avoid getting any of the embossing powder attaching where I don't want it to attach. Okay, I'm just going to stamp using my Versamark. Look at the colour of that Versamark pad. Not attractive. However, it makes no difference to how it works and how the stamp stamps, luckily. All right, I'm just going to dump my powder on there. Tap that off. Now, I am sorry if the heat tool bothers you. I do actually, because my card is all about heat embossing, I will have to be using it a fair bit today. And I am going to use my tweezers on this because I'll be no room for my fingers to go without getting them hot. See if I can add a little bit more. Okay, just bang on the back of that, get rid of the excess and use my heat tool. One thing I will say about your heat tool, if it's pre-warmed, it does work quicker. And it is a good idea just to start in one spot and move along as it embosses. If you can, avoid doing the hairdryer technique where you just wave it backwards and forwards. There we go. Done. Once it's shiny. One thing about doing heat embossing with metallic powders, it does show up very easily, which is really rather lovely. Okay, now for the exciting bit of the embossing. I don't need you anymore. I will need you. So this is to create this tile. Welcome everybody who's here. I'm sorry I can't see who's here and I can't see comments, but I certainly will reply as soon as I'm finished, okay? So we're going to create this tile, and I probably will go in a different direction with this one. And to create this tile, you're adding layers and layers and layers of heat embossing, and when it's quite thick, then you can stamp into it to create this debossed image in the embossed tile. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to just, actually I'll use a bit of scrap paper. I had one here a second ago. What did I do with it? Put my catalogue on top of it. Okay, I'm just going to use a bit of scrap paper and just go straight down with my Versamark ink pad and pop. Dust my powder all over it. There we go. And I am going to use my tweezers again. They come with the Embossing Editions little pack too, which is fantastic. I love them. Okay, and just heat emboss this. So I'm not sure whether you can hear me when I'm talking with the heat tool, so I'll try to avoid doing that. But one tip I will give you with heat embossing is, ooh, not quite dry, avoid waving it around like a hairdryer. It's best just to start in one place and then move over as it heats up. Now I'm not worried about that little smudge I put in it because I'm going to add Versamark again and then tip my powder back on again. A bit more over here. And then heat it up again, starting from the side. And you can see that little splodge where I stuck my finger in it before it was dry has all melted and gone. I'll wait a little bit longer this time. And before I do my next layer. So I'm probably going to do this 3 or 4 times and then stamp into it to create that debossed image I was telling you about. This does curl a little bit. Your cardstock does curl a bit with the excitement of doing this. So I'm going to try and heat it on the other side as well today. Okay, ink it up again. Throw my embossing powder all over that inked up surface. Tap as much as that back in my jar as possible. Okay, and heat it up again with my heat tool, starting on one side. Now you can see it's become far more molten and it's much thicker. It's creating that lovely beveled edge, a bit like icing when it's nice and thick. So it's building up the layers of the heat embossed powder, and then we'll be able to stamp in that with the, I think I'll try it on the next go. I'll just wait for this to dry a little bit more. I am liking the silver compared to the gold. It does look rather shiny, doesn't it? Okay. I think that'll be good now. Add some more Versamark. You need the Versamark to stick the powder so that you can melt the powder. Okay, and I'm going to tip my embossing powder all over that again. Tap it off the excess. Now before I heat this up, I'm going to pre-moisten my stamp so that the rubber is nice and moist. Now a red rubber stamp has lots of lovely detail, so it does work really nicely with this. I'm not sure how well a photopolymer stamp will work with it. Okay, and now heating up this time, and I'm going to go quite quickly from the heat tool to stamping while it's still molten and warm. Still quite wet and moist, and I'm going to push straight down and hold. I'm giving that a fair bit of pressure, pushing into that molten heat embossing powder. I have tried this and it hasn't worked before, and you can just add another layer of powder and it will work. Okay, let's pull that off and see how we go. Okay, there you go. There's my stamped image being debossed into my tile of embossing powder. Okay, does that look pretty cool? I think it's a great effect. Let's hope. Yep, I didn't heat up any of those crumbs. All right, I just get all of this out of the way and put our card together. All right, now I'm going to, I love how that looks. It looks amazing. It looks like silver foil actually, with this cute little stamped image in it. I'm going to add some adhesive just on these sides here and arranged my little bits of blue foliage on there, and then I'll add adhesive all over the back of this because it does, you might be able to see it does curl a little bit because of all the heat that we've added. And then, oh, this paper has lines so I can line it up nice and straight. Isn't that a great little hint? There we go, that's all stuck on. Add my Enjoy Your Day, 1, 2, 3 with dimensionals. And stick that up there on an angle. I've got a few extra bits I didn't intend on having. That's where I have to put a jewel or a gem right there. And then a bow for the top of my tag. Make it look like a tag. Just going to wrap it around. This silver trim actually has a right side and a wrong side, so I'm trying very hard to keep the right side showing because the wrong side has a sort of a white center in it, but it's a bit hard. Okay, I'll use a mini glue dot for that one. And pull you off and stick you on. There we go. Enjoy your day. And the last thing on this one, I'm going to use some rhinestones because on this one I used gold brushed brass butterflies, but I think This one, being the silver, needs some sparkles of a rhinestone variety. There we go. Which is your favourite? The embossing with the gold or the silver? I had rather high hopes for this silver, and I don't think I'm disappointed. Probably the gold looks a bit more dynamic. The silver seems to blend into the blue, but both of them are pretty amazing. So give that a go. Try that. Repeat embossing many, many times and then stamp a flower or some other nice detailed image in it and see if you can create a lovely embossed tile. Thank you everyone who joined me. I'm off to answer all your comments now. Bye.